Hello, all you Quickeners out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. My name is Fletcher. About to say hi is Data.
What up?
Today we're going to discuss and review Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 4, Episode 24, The Quickening. Alternate title, And the Bashir Played On.
Okay.
A reference to a maybe kind of obscure movie, but I suspect it might have been an inspiration for this episode. I don't know, you'll have to tell us.
I will.
As always, you can expect full spoilers up through the episode being discussed, The Quickening, and a possible small number of minor spoilers for later in the series, but we'll keep those to an appropriate minimum. The Quickening originally aired on May 20th, 1996. It was written by Naren Shankar?
Yep.
And directed by Rene Auberjonois. Mr. Shankar, I don't think we've seen before.
No, let's see. Let's see what we got in here about him. Joined the writing staff of The Next Generation as an intern during the latter half of the fourth season.
Ah.
Ended up writing several episodes of The Next Generation and then for Deep Space Nine. So, okay, what episodes did he write? The First Duty with Ronald D. Moore.
Uh-huh.
Teleplay for Face of the Enemy. Good. Gambit's Part 1 and 2.
Ooh.
Suspicions, Force of Nature, Homeward, and Preemptive Strike. So yeah, some of those I don't remember as well as some of the other ones. Wrote one episode of Voyager and 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine. Oh, he did write one before this. He wrote Babel.
Oh, he did?
All the way
that
back
was a long
in
time ago.
1. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was probably even before I put the name of the writer in the
maybe
review.
Definitely before we started discussing what they've done or whatever. Apparently, he was also credited as the science consultant on 25 episodes of The Next Generation. So,
wow.
What did you do to deserve that, guy? Let's see.
I mean, I definitely felt there was some medical advisor or something involved in this episode.
Career outside of Star Trek. He has a PhD in engineering, physics, and electrical engineering from Cornell.
So one PhD in all those things, or three separate PhDs?
It says as he held a 1990 PhD in electrical engineering and engineering physics and electrical engineering. So engineering physics and electrical engineering, I guess, is all one thing.
Huh.
He did not want to work as a scientist after finishing that and moved to Los Angeles to become a writer instead. Wow. Okay.
That's just the career path some people take.
Hmm.
You hear these stories all the time about people they give up on these fancy careers. I just always remember the story of the guy, the TV show The Americans about the spies, which is created by a guy who worked for the CIA. And in interviews, he tells this story. It's like when he started working for the CIA, he had to take a lie detector test. And the polygraph guy was like, "Are you joining the CIA to gain experience you will use later as a fiction writer?" And he was like, as soon as he said that, I knew that was exactly what I wanted to do.
Wow. How did he answer it?
I assume he said no, but
is that a bad thing? Like the CIA's like, we don't want people coming just to be writers.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want a guy hanging around for a couple of years and then ditching and going to Hollywood. That's they probably invest a lot into training those people. So
apparently, in 2013, Shankar was named executive producer for the television series Almost Human by J.J. Abrams and starring Carl Urban. And then later
do not remember that
became
one
showrunner on The Expanse.
Oh, wow. He was the showrunner on The Expanse?
That's what it says.
Wow. All right.
So yeah, he's done some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also reminded of David X. Cohen. Possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Because I finally finished Futurama last night, so.
Nice.
Pretty cool season finale. Or mid-chunk of episodes finale, or whatever they're doing with that.
I still haven't seen any of the new ones, so I don't know.
That last one's pretty cool. Anyway, talking about this episode. Okay. So in the wardroom of Deep Space Nine, Major Kira and Chief O'Brien are examining the innards of a display panel when Odo enters, dragging Quark along. Brimming with annoyance, they confront Quark about his latest hijink, which I assume is the singular of hijinks.
Sure.
Apparently, Quark has hacked into the station's systems and made the displays play a catchy little commercial for the bar.
It's like
Yeah. How did he think he was going to get away with this?
Yeah, it's not like he can pretend it wasn't him.
Right.
And he doesn't try to pretend that it wasn't him. He's proud of it. He's like, well, I didn't put it in ops. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
And this is after a previous episode where he asked if he could do this, and they said no. So he can't even claim that he thought it would be okay.
Maybe he's calculated the return versus the fine and decided that it's worth it or something.
That's a bold move. Yep.
And just an editor's note here. At 7 seconds long, this ad is less than a quarter of the length of the Fellow Travelers commercial I was forced to watch before this episode on my supposedly ad-free Paramount Plus account. So, just think about that.
You're letting them know that they're more annoying than Quark's ad.
Yes.
Got it.
I know you listen, people who run Paramount Plus.
This has got to be the smallest B story in any episode of this show.
Yeah, well, so yeah, then Worf comes in and reveals that the replicator on the Defiant served him his prune juice in a collectible Quark's free refill mug, one per customer, which plays the jingle when you tip it.
So hacking the station's terminals, bold move. Hacking a Federation warship?
Yeah.
I feel like
that's impressive.
Well, it is impressive. It really, maybe Worf should be paying more attention to security on the Defiant. But I'm just like, you should probably go to jail for that.
I mean, maybe there's a setting on the replicator for what kind of cup you want, and he just went in and set it to that.
Oh yeah, when nobody's looking, he's
just a Worf's room.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Apparently, the picture of Quark on Worf's mug is a promotional shot of Armin Shimmerman taken during the production of Emissary, the first episode of the series. Oh, wow. At the time, Shimmerman was still wearing the nose made for Rom, which is why the picture looks slightly different from Quark's actual appearance.
Oh yeah, wow. But Worf is not pleased, and neither is Kira, who grabs Quark by the lapels, no doubt tailored by Garrick himself, based on Quark's exacting specifications.
Yep.
And threatens that she will come to Quark's, and she will have fun. Which is pretty menacing. As you mentioned, after this setup for what promises to be a delightful, lighthearted comedic episode, we introduce the B-plot. I mean the entire rest of the episode. Which doesn't feature that story or any of those characters except for Kira.
Yep. So
the gamma terminus of the Bajoran wormhole blossoms open and spits out a runabout. So it's a runabout in the Gamma Quadrant episode.
No, not one of those.
We then quickly rush at breakneck speed through the standard opening story beats for that type of episode.
Yep. They're going to some planet to do something or other, drop off medical supplies, do a survey,
they're going to do something.
It's one of those things.
They're going to do something, but then something beeped, so they have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, they're going to do something on a planet you've never heard of, but then something beeps, and they detect something that, despite having come to the Gamma Quadrant many times, they never detected before.
Right. I mean, I assume they go to different parts of the Gamma Quadrant. I don't know. The signal's apparently been running for 200 years, but does the computer just be like, what should I beep at them about this time?
Well, it asks the writers, and then it goes from there.
So yeah, they have to go to this mysterious planet to check out whatever that beeping is coming from. In what at this point I'm sure is a court-martialable offense, the crew break all established Starfleet rules and protocol and beam down only Bashir and Dax, leaving Kira to safeguard the runabout and monitor the away team's situation from orbit.
I mean, yeah, I have to assume that Kira was like, wait, if this were a Bajoran ship, we would leave somebody on board. And Dax and Bashir are like, wait, what? Really?
We're supposed to all go.
Well, I mean, okay, you're the boss.
So that if we lose contact with the runabout, then we have nothing to do. So Dax and Bashir find themselves among the crumbling towers and domes of a civilization whose glory days are clearly long past. They wander into a shanty town populated by people with strange blue blotches on their skin. Is this just what this species looks like? Who knows?
I mean, we've seen makeup pretty similar.
Yeah.
That's what they look like. Apparently, these outdoor scenes, almost all the outdoor scenes in the episode, are shot at the Santa Susana Field Laboratory in Ventura County, where Rocketdyne had performed shuttle testings that resulted in the Earth being burned and scorched by the heat and flame of rocket engines.
I was like, this is a pretty crappy looking laboratory. That makes sense. So a man walks by pushing a wheelbarrow full of dead bodies, which Dax and Bashir look at but don't seem that concerned by.
Well, it's just a standard bring out your dead sort of thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just a cart full of bodies. Okay. Oh, that's a little weird, but... Then a lady with red splotches stumbles towards them, asking to be taken to Trevian. Then a bald man comes up and explains that the blight has quickened in her, and they should get off the planet while they still can. Then he just, immediately leaves the scene.
Yeah, he's like, that was his one purpose in being here.
Right.
So he doesn't care about her, doesn't really care about them that much, except to, tell them to be off.
Uh-huh.
He's got places to be, things to do.
I think maybe Rene Auberjonois might have spent a little bit more time thinking the blocking or whatever of that scene. Instead of just the guy abruptly leaving after he delivers his line. Luckily, Bashir does a little tricording and announces that despite the fact that these people look exactly like human beings, their physiology is so different that Dax and Bashir are not in any danger of catching the blight.
Woohoo!
So, don't worry about that.
I mean, maybe you should have known that before, just beaming down into the middle of them, but whatever.
In a little piece of visual storytelling that doesn't quite read, necessitating a quick line of ADR, Dax reveals that she traded her hair clip for a ride to this Trevian person or place. When instead of the hospital they were expecting, they find themselves at a fairly depressing room where people sit around on cushions listening to a slowly cranked music box.
Yep.
So is the atmosphere in here depressing enough? No. Slowly crank that music box. An orderly or whatever comes and sees the quickened woman and has her taken away. Then regards Dax and Bashir and says, "You guys from another planet?" "Yeah," they say. "Meh," he says. Then he walks off.
Alrighty then.
Yeah.
Good to know.
A man walks into the room, and another man with red splotches addresses that guy as Trevian. Then he lifts his cup and thanks Trevian for making his last day alive his most pleasant and comfortable one.
He slept in a bed for the first time in his life.
First time in his entire life, he slept in a bed.
I mean, I feel like with the speed at which people die, there's got to be beds.
Yeah, isn't this
hanging out?
Isn't this the remains of a once mighty civilization?
Exactly.
There's not beds. Maybe those mattresses are just... I don't know what a 200-year-old mattress is like.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess it depends on what the mattress is made of, but yeah.
Also, my bar for what I consider a bed is pretty low.
Also true, yeah. I mean, you get a bunch of straw and make your own makeshift mattress, and there you go.
Yeah. But all in the room murmur their agreement. Then he chugs from the cup. Trevian comes up to Dax and Bashir and gives them the skinny. See, theirs was once a great and advanced civilization until they dared to resist the Dominion. So as punishment, the Dominion brought the blight. They are born with it, which we see thanks to a helpful visual aid baby.
Yep, visual aid baby, right.
And they live with it until one day, they have no idea when, the blight quickens, their splotches turn red, and they die a painful death. Dax and Bashir offer their help, but Trevian says it would be too dangerous if the Jem'Hadar found out. Dax bravely says she's willing to take that risk of horrible reprisals against the people of the planet for their presence.
Well, honestly, this is just... why would the Dominion do this?
Yeah. I guess they just don't care that much about the planet.
Yeah, it's like they usually conquer people with the Jem'Hadar, and this time they're like, we really don't like you.
Right. It's like, you said mean stuff about us, and we just can't let that stand. Or, we know that the Dominion plans like centuries or millennia in advance, so maybe they're just like, we won't need this planet until after everybody dies out. So let's just maybe mess with them a little bit.
Maybe there's something so awesome about these people that they're like, look, if we leave them diseased for a couple hundred years and then we come back and they're like, well, we can give you the cure if you want to join up now. They'll be like, really willing recruits, and they'll help somehow. And
then maybe just they forgot about that after 200 years or something.
Well, maybe it was supposed to be 300 years before. Yeah. So,
It's like 300 years, they'll be just right. They'll be ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Just then the man who made the toast falls over. Bashir runs to his aid, but it's no use. He's dead. Dax and Bashir realize the grim truth. Trevian isn't a healer. He's a mercy killer. So at this point, I'm just like, come to Quarks. Quarks is fun. Come right now. Don't walk, run.
Well, so there's a great note in here that this is one of those where a fan just like puts a complete guess in as information about the episode with no real basis. But
nice.
So this one says the casting of Michael Sarrazin as a practitioner of euthanasia is possibly motivated by the fact that he is best known for playing in the 1969 film They Shoot Horses, Don't They?, which culminates with his character helping the other lead, played by Jane Fonda, to her death.
That's what a title for a film.
Yeah. So spoiler for They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Jane Fonda dies at the end.
Wow.
I gotta see what this movie is about because they shoot horses, don't they?
I can kind of deduce based on the title.
Robert Siverton is a homeless man who recalls the events leading up to an unstated crime.
Is the crime... So does the movie end before the crime? Or
I don't know.
Does the crime ever get stated?
As a boy, he saw a horse breaking its leg, and it was shot and put out of its misery. Mm-hmm. Years later, in the Great Depression, he wanders into a dance marathon that is about to begin in a shabby ballroom. What?
All right.
The couples are competing for a prize of $1,500 in silver dollars.
Wow.
And hope to be spotted by Hollywood celebrities and talent scouts.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Robert is recruited by Rocky, the contest promoter and MC, as a substitute partner of a bitter, world-weary, yet still young woman named Gloria Beatty, after her previous partner is disqualified for bronchitis. Okay.
So when do they shoot somebody?
Weeks into the marathon. I skipped a couple paragraphs. They're still in the dance marathon.
Uh-huh.
Harry, who must have been introduced in those paragraphs I skipped, dies of a heart attack. Okay. Rocky stages a series of derbies in which contestants run around the dance floor with the last three couples eliminated. Rocky disqualifies Harry after his heart attack, and the medics remove his body from the dance floor. I think being dead was not disqualification.
They remove him for being dead. Got it.
Alice suffers a nervous breakdown and showers with her clothes on, and Rocky comforts her and removes her from the competition.
All right.
Rocky suggests that Gloria and Robert get married during the marathon, a publicity stunt that's guaranteed to earn more cash for them in the form of gifts from supporters. When Gloria refuses, Rocky reveals the invoice sheet. Expenses will be deducted from the prize money for the winner to have nothing.
Oh my gosh, what a dirty trick.
Yep.
When did they shoot somebody?
Okay, so they leave the competition. While packing up her things, Gloria searches for one of her silk stockings, which Robert finds. She breaks down. They leave the dance hall, stand on the pier. Gloria confesses to Robert how empty she feels and how she is tired of life. Gloria removes a gun from her purse, but cannot bring herself to pull the trigger. She desperately asks Robert to shoot her, which he does.
Oh, wow.
Police officers arrest Robert and remove Gloria's body, asking why he did it. Robert tells police that she asked him to. After they press him further, he says, "They shoot horses, don't they?"
Is this supposed to be a comedy, or...
Hold on. It's a psychological drama directed by Sidney Pollack.
So, okay. So she didn't have a terminal illness or anything.
Nope.
She was just upset because she danced in a rigged dance marathon and a guy had a heart attack, or... Maybe you have to see the movie and it'll make more sense. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I like the last line of the summary is, the marathon goes on, with the few remaining couples having already reached 1,491 hours.
Wow.
They really want those silver dollars, but they don't know that they're not getting any of them.
Yeah, they're going to get expensed, all those silver dollars.
Yeah.
Wow, that's... Jeez.
That also doesn't sound much like his character in this episode for that fact.
Yeah. He poisons the people. It's like, they poison horses, don't they?
Well, it's just like there's so little impetus for him to shoot this woman. She's like, I want to die, but I just can't bring myself to do it. You do it. All right, why not?
Oh, man.
That there was our side trip.
Right, spoilers for that movie.
Big spoilers for that movie, yep.
So Trevian kicks them out. Dax locates the distress beacon that drew them here and says it's probably been running automatically for the last 200 years.
You think somebody else would have showed up before now and been like, can you just turn that off?
Yeah,
Like,
did she even turn it off? I don't even remember.
That's a good question, actually, yeah.
But Bashir is like, yeah, screw this place, let's bounce. And they're approached by a young, pregnant woman who had been sitting around at Trevian's. Her name is Ikoria, and she's trying to find a way to live long enough to deliver her baby into this horrible, horrible world.
Yep.
Don't let Trevian mislead you, she says. There's actually a lot of people around here who would like to not have the blight anymore.
Yep.
But then they have to take a break because Kira has detected a Jem'Hadar ship on the way.
Which apparently their sensors are way better than the Jem'Hadar sensors because they can always detect them before they can be detected.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were on special Jem'Hadar alert or something. I don't know.
Well, also, now that Ikoria is introduced, there's a note in here that Trevian is an anagram for veteran. And Ikoria, can you figure out what Ikoria is an anagram for?
Okay, wait, let me look at this name here.
I'm sorry. Her original name, I think it may have been, her original name was Ikorio. So the same name.
Ikorio, okay. So Kur... No, what is it?
So, Trevian is veteran, Ikorio is rookie.
Oh my gosh.
Naren Shankar created these names and notes, small things that help me focus when I'm creating characterization.
All right. Whatever works for you.
I mean, they work. They're good alien names, right?
Yeah, they sound like Star Trek names, so.
Yep.
They discuss going back to Deep Space Nine and sending in a Federation relief team, but Bashir points out that last time they were on a plague planet, it took like 5 minutes to cure. So they make a plan to have Kira go hide the runabout in a nebula for a while Dax and Bashir go back to the planet and solve the blight problem.
For a week, she's going to hide in the nebula.
Yeah.
So I just like Kira's out here like, I'll just kick back and relax in the runabout.
Yeah. She's probably fine. She's gonna take all the naps she wants.
They can't be a week away from Deep Space Nine, honestly. Like, couldn't you just go back?
I don't know. So they set up shop in one of the many ruined buildings, which I guess is where Ikoria lives.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Dax notices a nice painting done by Ikoria's late husband, depicting the city in its former splendor. Also, there's a full-size mural of it somewhere, she says. Dr. Bashir is ready to run analysis on an asymptomatic individual, and Dax translates that he means he needs a volunteer, in what apparently was supposed to be a running gag this episode, which, at the very end when they try to pay it off, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'd also kind of forgotten, but yeah.
Because he's like, I need you to translate. And I was like, wait, translate? I was like, oh, that? Also, she left out the asymptomatic part, so hopefully the volunteer doesn't turn out to be symptomatic. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to need one of those too, I'm sure. So
then she does the doctor will be with you in a moment gag. As a treat, Bashir tricords Ikoria's stomach to show her her baby. So I want to see your baby? Here you go. In no time at all, Bashir is able to locate the virus and gets to work trying to find a cure. Ikoria is so filled with hope, she breaks out what was supposed to be her last meal. Bashir and Ikoria go out looking for quickened people to experiment on. They run into Bald Dude, who has now quickened. He and everybody else are initially skeptical, but Bashir shows his medical magic by curing a young boy's broken arm.
Yep, same thing as the virus, everyone knows.
Yeah. People are amazed until Trevian shows up being like, don't be suckers, you're all going to wind up in my hospital in the end. Later, Ikoria analyzes that the constant fear of death has caused people to almost worship death, making them prefer surrender to hope.
I do love Trevian's threat where he's like, Bashir's like, look, I'm not making crazy promises. I want to help however I can. He's like, you better not make any promises because we know how to deal with those kinds.
Oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, we will torture you so bad. But surprisingly, a group of quickened patients shows up, led by Bald Guy, who says, I canceled my death for you. I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Which was my favorite line of the episode.
Yeah, it's a good moment.
Soon, Bashir finds a possible cure, which he distributes to people without telling them what it is, in a typical display of Bashir medical ethics.
Yeah.
He's like, here, just inject this into you. What is it? I don't know.
If I told you, it wouldn't work.
But sadly, Bald Guy is getting pretty bad. Bashir commends Ikoria on her natural bedside manner and tells her the story of his first patient, the teddy bear Kukalaka, which he describes as a soft puppet.
I do like what's a teddy bear? And yeah, he goes for puppet, and I was like, A, I mean, have you seen puppets around here? Is that why you think that she'll understand what that means? And B, it's not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stuffed animal. Like, surely she'll understand.
Apparently, the name Kukalaka was chosen by Rene Echevarria. However, it came from a mistake on his part. According to Echevarria, he thought Kukalaka was the name of his best friend's invisible childhood friend. But after the friend saw the episode, he informed Echevarria that Kukalaka was actually the name of a cat belonging to an ex-girlfriend of his.
Huh. So what was the name of the invisible friend?
We'll never know.
Okay. This moment of levity is interrupted when Bald Dude starts shaking. Bashir realizes that the EM fields from their electronics are making people worse. Right as everybody starts convulsing.
Yeah, everyone at the same time, worse. Except for that one guy who leads the pack.
Bald Guy collapses and Bashir tries to resuscitate him, giving us the standard, he's gone, doctor, scene.
Yep, very important scene.
Yep, always gotta have it. Trevian shows up just in time to pass out poison to all the suffering patients, who all call out for him. So, lucky he was there, I guess. Or
yep, he was right. He was on the scene. He's Johnny on the spot.
He's poison. Like, I'm going to have to give those people poison soon, I can tell. The next day, Bashir is in low spirits. He beats himself up for not noticing the effect of the electronics earlier. He admits to fantasizing about curing this plague and passing it off as no big thing.
Yeah. Kind of full of himself, but we've always known that, so
yeah.
I'm not shocked.
Yep. Dax gives him a little tough love by pointing out that the most arrogant thing is believing that there's no cure just because he couldn't find it.
And in 1 week.
Right. So Bashir wanders through the miserable city and happens across the mural mentioned earlier. Ikoria is there and has quickened.
So apparently this mural... It says, Doug Drexler and Michael Okuda collaborated on designing the Teflon mural using CGI and Photoshop, while additional cracks and aging effects were added by hand by Donnie Puga. The final product measured 15 feet wide.
Oh, wow. Cool. But Ikoria is resigned to her fate, but Bashir finds new resolve, deciding to stay behind on the planet while Kira and Dax fly home.
So I guess screw that planetary survey they were going to do.
Yeah. Or did they go do whatever they were going to do? I don't even know.
I don't think so. I think they were on their way there, but maybe they were on their way back. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how urgent that thing was, but... Bashir continues his work with no success. Ikoria is in pain, but is determined to live long enough to deliver. Trevian stops by and offers to end her suffering and prevent her baby from being born doomed to the same fate, but she refuses. Bashir asks why Trevian is so obsessed with death, since he's lived so long with the blight. He says it's because he's lived so long that he's seen more suffering than anyone else. Ikoria gets her wish and lives long enough to give birth. Amazingly, the baby has no splotches, which Bashir perhaps hastily diagnoses as having been made immune through the injections he gave Ikoria.
Yep. It's like, oh, I came up with a vaccine and didn't even know it. I'm amazing.
Ikoria lives just long enough to hear this good news. Bashir shows the baby to Trevian and explains his cure can be used as a vaccine on pregnant women to inoculate their children, but it won't cure people who already have the disease.
And then we get another visual aid baby as he walks around, like, holding the baby in a probably not great way for the baby.
Yeah, well, I mean, he holds it up, like the Lion King or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Trevian eagerly asks to be shown how to make the vaccine so he can help distribute it. Then he does his little Lion King thing to an astonished crowd while Bashir looks on, satisfied. Then Bashir returns to Deep Space Nine, where he will presumably continue to work on a cure in his spare time. Sisko comes by to tell him good job and then leaves Bashir alone to tackle the seemingly insurmountable, but maybe not, task. The end.
And we will never hear anything. Like, I went out to Memory Beta to see if maybe in a book. No, it's just
not even a book, huh?
There is a mention in a later episode by someone else, like, hey, tell me about this. But that's all.
Huh. Disappointing.
So, who knows? I mean, eventually it wouldn't be relevant because they'll all die and then the immune people will grow up and it'll be over. But
yeah. I wonder. I mean, we see a fair number of adults, so
yeah. Well, and it seems like this is not the only like city or whatever. Based on a few of the things they say. So
yeah, but I'm trying to gauge like kind of what the demographic breakdown is of the society and like how long it's going to take to recycle to just cured people, or to like mostly healthy people.
Yeah. Most of the later stage disfiguring caused by the blight was done in post-production by multi-layer compositing under the supervision of Gary Hutzel, meaning that on set, rather than elaborate makeup, actors had dots attached to their faces, which allowed the motion to be recorded precisely. This was an early form of the type of sophisticated motion capture software and motion capture suits that are regularly used today.
Wow. That seems like an unnecessarily advanced solution to that, but
it's like you could have put makeup on them, but no.
Maybe they just want to try a new thing or something.
Could be. Let's see. There's lots more notes in here that I haven't gotten to yet.
Sirach Lofton is not in this episode.
He's not in this episode, it's true.
Neither is Morgan.
The concept for the episode, so here's what Fletcher was talking about at the beginning. Maybe it originated with whatever he was referencing. The concept of the episode originated from, amazingly, I'm sure you'll never guess, Ira Stephen Bear was watching a movie. The 1995 Michael Hoffman film, Restoration.
Oh.
The theme of the movie and the idea that Bear wanted to bring to the world of DS9 was what would happen when an inherently moral doctor is placed in a situation he is unable to control. This led to him proposing Bashir should be placed in the middle of a planet-wide epidemic, and no matter how hard he tries, he simply cannot come up with a cure.
So I was right, I just got the movie wrong.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also on Bear's mind, the fact that Greg Duffy Long, an office assistant, had just died of AIDS.
Oh.
According to Bear, my wife Laura works closely with the AIDS Project Los Angeles, and the whole AIDS thing was on all of our minds, so we wanted to come up with a disease that would break your heart. Because he was too busy himself, Bear hired Naren Shankar to write the teleplay, although Shankar ultimately decided to drop the AIDS metaphor, saying, I didn't give the sense that the people were outcasts or pariahs, which is how AIDS patients are often perceived.
I just had to look up, and the band played on came out in 1993, so.
Okay, so it could have been.
Yeah. So what was the name of that movie again?
The name of that movie was... one second, I deleted it. Restoration.
Huh. Okay.
Hold on, now we're going to find out what Restoration by Michael Hoffman is about. 1995 film. Yeah, this film tells the story. It's 2 parts period drama, 1 part character study, 1 part comedy, often tragic. Tells the story of the 17th century medical doctor, Robert Downey Jr. Wait, is that the doctor's name?
Yeah.
Or is it played... who does an amazing job playing English. So I guess that's the actor. Despite innate medical talents, Downey doesn't like... I like how we're not using the character name. It's just, okay. Downey doesn't like how it's the 17th century and people die from terrible things all the time. It's a downer. So when he lucks into a court appointment for the king, a delightful Sam Neill, he takes it. It means he gets to drink and carouse and not go bankrupt from it like if he were a working stiff.
Huh.
This gets complicated when Neil makes Downey marry one of his mistresses to legitimize her because Downey immediately falls for her. This portion of the film, after the gruesome medical realities of the opening, is most comedic, especially after Hugh Grant shows up as a portrait painter who annoys Downey, so Downey annoys him back. And then Downey gets a sidekick, an affable Ian McKellen.
Oh, wow. Geez, this cast.
Yeah, right? I also like how, as opposed to this episode, which went from comedy to like heavy medical thing, that movie goes from heavy medical depressing to comedy.
Huh.
All right.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see this movie now, honestly.
Never heard of it.
Renee Echevarria did an uncredited rewrite on the episode, commenting, "It's such a cliche in Star Trek that you come in, solve the problem, and then go. So we turned that on its ear. Bashir did get some of the way there. But he learned a humbling lesson there along the way. He went in utterly confident that he could do it in a week."
Right. I was thinking, like, that was the whole point, was that...
Yeah.
It, like... I mean, I was thinking, when I was watching the episode, I was like, oh, that's really smart that he can't solve the problem. Because it, like, kind of by robbing him of that ego boost, you, like, kind of make the lesson stick, or whatever.
Yeah, during the episode... it'd been a while. I didn't even remember exactly how it ended. But during the episode, I was like, oh, this is where they, like... take super proud Bashir down a peg and he fails, right? Like, yeah. That is a good, especially for that character, that is a great lesson to be learned. Like, if you tried to teach O'Brien that lesson, it wouldn't hit because O'Brien isn't that full of himself. But Bashir is a perfect person for that. And
it's good to have him, like, just have that beat where he realizes, like, he can't let his ego drive him anymore. Like, He has to, like, rely on his compassion to at least try, knowing he'll probably fail, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I guess Renee Echevarria adding the smart writing yet again.
The previous episode, directed by Renee Auberjonois, was Hippocratic Oath, and like that show, this one had many problems. At one stage, the set was destroyed by rain, which pushed shooting back 3 days as the sets were rebuilt. I feel like if your set is outside, you should plan for the possibility of rain. I'm just saying. Wow.
So he also did Hippocratic Oath. That's very similar, like, two Bashir episodes.
Yeah. Huh. Additionally, there were 70 extras on set. Auberjonois had never shot on location before, and he'd never used a crane before. However, while he hated the pressure of directing Hippocratic Oath, he reacted differently this time. And he says, "You'd think that's where I'd fall apart. But this was, for me, my breakthrough as a director. It's the first time I really had a handle on it." So good for him.
Yeah.
He goes on to say he saw this show as having strongly religious overtones. In particular, he felt that Ikoria was the Virgin Mary figure and tried to place her in the frame in such a manner as to recall Renaissance holy pictures. The shot of her standing in front of a rounded arch window was designed to make the arch look like a halo. According to Auberjonois, we tried to get a sort of Vermeer look to it.
Huh.
So, there you go.
All right.
I did not get that from the episode, but, if it helped you direct it, whatever.
I mean, it's good to, like, kind of just pick a star and sail towards it.
Sure.
Sometimes,
Yeah, you come up with your theme, you go for it, and even if it doesn't come across exactly the way you want, it'll at least feel consistent.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
This is a favorite of Alexander Siddig's, saying that this was a lesson in abject arrogance and how blinding it can be. Before this, Bashir had only succeeded. He always won. He always got his man. So it's interesting for him not to be able to do that.
I mean, except for in that Hippocratic Oath episode, but...
Yeah. Also true. Ira Stephen Bear agrees with Siddig's appraisal, saying it was a horror story, basically. It's about this genetically engineered plague and the hubris of a doctor who thought that he could just come in and be the hero.
Mm-hmm.
He says, a lot of things really came together in The Quickening. I mean, the sets were unbelievable. The production values did not let us down. So much of it worked.
Yeah.
Alexander Siddig says, on some special features from the Deep Space Nine DVDs, I loved this episode. I mean, I loved doing it, and Renee directing it. He was great. I really enjoyed the fact that there's this doctor that turns up on this planet and is so arrogant and full of himself, and probably he can cure all this and probably get whatever the equivalent of the Nobel Prize is, and then he fails and kills a bunch of people. A whole bunch of people die because he screwed up. That doesn't happen on TV. The good guys don't screw up like that.
I mean, they didn't die because of him, but their death was slightly more painful.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Maybe it's because I put my own interest above those of the patients. That's a great lesson for any doctor.
Sure. And I mean, there's so many Star Trek episodes where it's like they go down to a planet and they're having a problem like this. But the problem always is like the people on the planet don't want their help or something like that. So this kind of like flips that where like he's like, yeah, I can solve this. They're like, all right, solve it. And he's like, oh, this is harder than I thought.
It got me thinking about like the Next Generation, because that's probably the big target for this is how Star Trek does it a lot. They show up, there's a problem, they fix the problem.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's actually several times that when they show up at that one planet and the problem is like these super soldiers have broken, or the one in particular has broken loose from their moon prison. And after they help recapture him, it's like, oh wait, you were holding these guys prisoner for no reason. And then like as the revolution is about to start, Picard's like, yeah, we're just going to take off. You guys, good luck with that, working stuff out between you. And there's even an episode with like the plague ship that like the planet won't let the plague ship come or whatever, and then the guy who's supposed to marry Deanna Troi like goes off with the plague ship, and maybe he'll cure their horrible disease, maybe not, we don't know.
Oh yeah.
So there's some that are left more open-ended. I don't think any of them feel as much of a failure as this does. Renee Echevarria named this episode as his second favorite after The Visitor. Commenting, Alexander Siddig was wonderful, Ellen Wheeler, the pregnant woman, was terrific, and having Michael Sarazan was terrific. He came in and auditioned and just blew the room away. There was no question of auditioning anyone else. Women love this man and still swoon over him down on the set.
Wow.
That's not the read that I had on the character, but whatever. And the last note I have on here from Terry Farrell, saying that she thought the episode was exceptional, saying, a good one to work on because I was thinking of the AIDS metaphor while we were shooting it. I felt like we had a touch of reality in that episode. Sid was so good. Bashir's ego was really driven to cure that disease. I thought it was interesting that Dax was a step back and more realistic than Bashir. She thought you should do everything you can, but at the day's end, felt you had to let it go and a little bit so that you had the strength to come back the next day and be fresh enough to try again. Saying this was one of our best shows. So there you go. That's the cast's reaction, at least.
Yeah. Jump into title review.
Yeah. Okay. There's a note in here about the title. The working title of the episode was The Healing Touch. This title was given the episode by Naren Shankar, but it was changed by Renee Echevarria because the producers felt it implied Bashir would be successful in his fight against the blight. Echevarria chose the new title of The Quickening as a pun. In the context of the episode, to quicken means the disease becomes active, but to quicken in reality also means to come alive, so the title refers to both death and birth.
Ooh.
Echevarria was particularly proud of this double meaning.
Wow, that went over my head, but...
Yep, no, right over my head, yep.
But, yeah, what do we say? So, like... I mean, I think it's a pretty good title. It's...
Yeah, in terms of memorability, if you say this title, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like punchy.
Yeah. In terms of like relevance, absolutely 100% relevant to the episode.
It is the thing that's happening in the episode. So.
Yep. I don't know that it's like all that clever, although apparently Renee Echevarria was like, "Oh man, I'm so clever with this."
Apparently, it's pretty clever. So
yeah, I think this is a top shelf title.
Pretty good. So, what do you think of the episode, The Quickening?
I think that this is a solid episode. I think I like I said, partway through the episode, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Bashir getting taken down a peg, which he needed. So as far as character episodes go, I feel like this is one of the better ones we've had for Bashir. It's miles beyond that one where he was scared because he was turning 30 or whatever, and had a mind I don't even, whatever. Doesn't, that
Right,
episode
yeah.
sucked. This episode did not. This is a much better character episode for Bashir. Dax played like a backup perfectly in this, supporting and helping, and eventually like the character even leaves. I don't know that I believe that they would like really leave Bashir all by himself here. Maybe go and bring some more doctors or nurses to help out, but like it gave Bashir the time to like do it alone and, you know, stand on his own, as it were, which was appropriate. And I feel like it's dramatic and emotional when the baby is delivered, and it's like, oh my gosh, the baby doesn't have the disease, and she finds this out right before she dies. And the end feels a little over the top to me with him holding up Lion King style the baby. Right. But that's a small quibble. And as you mentioned, the beginning seems just wildly out of pace with the rest of the episode. But it's a fun, like taken as a completely separate entity, it's a really fun bit. It's
like the Adventures of Ned Flanders or whatever.
Yeah,
where it's like we got to wedge in another little story or something. It's like they needed 2 extra minutes or something, but yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's Flanders.
Yeah.
So yes, I feel like this is a solid episode. It doesn't. I mean, the cast is talking about how like this is one of the best. Like Renee Shavari is like, this is my number 2 best episode. It's not that high for me. Mm-hmm. Maybe because it is so laser focused on Bashir that, you know, Dax gets, like I said, she gets her supporting role, but nobody else really gets to do anything. And Bashir, while interesting, and while I think this episode helps his character be more interesting, he's not my favorite character on the show. Like, I need some O'Brien or some Cisco or even let Kira do some stuff. I needed something else for this to be like captain level. Everything comes together. This feels like even the B story, if you want to call it that, is like a 5-second like pre-credits bit, and then this is solid one story the whole way through, and a story focused on only one character. And so it's a solid, maybe even high level commander for me, but I don't feel like when you're so laser focused on this one thing that it can like transcend to like the highest the captain level, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's one of my notes, is like a rare good character episode for Bashir where he actually learns a lesson relevant to the character that they've made, and it actually kind of improves him. Let's see. Most of the rest of the stuff I already mentioned. I mean, it was a little bit of a downer, but I mean, it was done really well. It's like the emotional stuff feels earned, and it doesn't feel like mean or like needlessly brutal.
Yeah, it's not like the O'Brien episode where I'm just like, you went too far, you pushed me too far, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Yeah, I agree.
Where it kind of like I don't know, eases you into it or something. Just when you're watching it, you don't feel like Star Trek has betrayed its like contract with you.
Yeah.
Well,
and because at first it does seem like kind of the standard issue where it's just like, oh, they're going to go down there, it's going to take some work, he's going to find the cure, and so then the emotional punch hits.
Yeah. It's kind of like a really clever twist, you know, having it be like that. So, but yeah, I think I love the guest actors for one thing. Like Trevian's pretty good. I liked Ikoria. I liked Bald Guy. I think it was really well written, and I think the pacing was really good. The themes were really well developed. The character arcs were just right. So it's like when I was watching it, it's just, my opinion of this episode has just gone up, like, since watching the episode. Like, because I have this level of goodness that I always kind of have in my mind that's like, I wish that was the basic level that every movie and TV show tried for.
Yeah.
I was like, if this was like the average, I'd be really happy. But I don't know, just because I watched it yesterday, and as I was thinking about it and writing my notes and stuff, it was like, just my opinion kept going up and up and up, and I think I actually will say that it crosses up into captain territory, because I think part of it is just because I'm so surprised by a Bashir story being this good. After
Yeah,
what we've had before, like, you know, I kind of want to reward it for that too. That somebody actually figured out like what works for Bashir and how to tell a really good story that actually is that character they've made and teaches him a lesson. And I don't know. So
he feels human in this episode,
yeah.
which he often does not. So,
and it's just kind of satisfying to see him actually get that smug arrogance slapped out of him. Like it's a long time, and not in the way that Distant Voices or whatever that episode was called, where it was just like his psyche attacking him.
Yeah,
just be like, "Oh, you never became a tennis star. Oh, you never slept with Dax." So yeah, these are.
I also never became a tennis star or slept with Dax, and I don't think my life is terrible necessarily. So
it's just, I feel like these things, they're what a narcissistic person believes are humbling experiences.
Yeah, right.
But like, actually, it's kind of like humble bragging or whatever. And like, this episode, I think, just really hits it. So.
I was better than 99% of the people at tennis, but I wasn't better than 99.9% of the people at tennis. So,
right.
You know, my life is wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, what do we have to look forward to on the next episode?
Okay, no, I'm sorry. This one, there's 2 stories, which, you know, not unusual in the next episode. And I sat here, I can't think of anything that relates to either of these 2 stories. Wow. That's how off the wall the things happening in the next episode are. Okay, so that's what you expect for next time. There is nothing to explain it except the episode itself.
So I'm in the elevator. You've given me that pitch, and I'm so taken aback. I'm intrigued, and I have to see it.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm like, here's your money. Go make it. But so yeah, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Now that you've talked about like this baseline, like this, I agree. This would be if a show had a baseline of this quality, that would be an amazing show.
Yeah.
Like, and Deep Space Nine is has, in our opinion, at least in the ratings that we've been giving, Deep Space Nine is moving in that direction. Where I feel like in this season in particular, like Commander has been a level that we're at a lot.
Yeah, maybe.
I have to go and look now at our last.
I think I've been feeling like it's been a little bit uneven this season, but
maybe you're right. Hold on, let's look at To the Death and see what it says. No, you're right. The show started out with a lot of commanders and a captain, but as we got like past the halfway point in the season, it kind of fell off.
Yeah, I mean there have been a number of commanders, but I feel like we've had some ensigns and lieutenant junior grades and stuff too. So
I have had one ensign. You have not had an ensign yet this season. So
interesting. So at some point we got to do some analysis on make some histograms and stuff. But
yeah, when we get towards the end, we can have a whole
right.
We're gonna find out that like Bashir episodes are always in the lowest percentile or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess we'll call it there. So, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. You can check the description if you're on YouTube or Apple. I copy and paste the exact same description in both.
Sure.
But, sometimes some interesting stuff is in there. If you listen on YouTube and would rather listen on Apple Podcasts, you can go do that. And vice versa.
No one's going to stop you.
Yeah. And if someone wanted to leave some 5-star reviews in there, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. But I'm Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
See ya.
Until we meet again, keep the blood wine warm and the prune juice chilled.